The continent must be India, and the country the middle country. He must be born either into the warrior caste or as a Brahmin, and his mother must be one pure in moral conduct with much accumulated spiritual virtue. Seeing that all of these conditions were fulfilled, the Buddha-to-be accepted the invitation to be born upon the earth.
How do you, royal astrologers, interpret the Queen's dream?
Your wife, the Queen's dream, indicates that you are to have a son. He will possess tremendous merit, great power and might. He will be peerless.
My lord, tradition calls for me to return to my family home at Dewataha to give birth.
You have my permission.
Counselors, let's stop and rest here. We have now completed half of our journey. The forest park of Lumpini is so beautiful and shady. We've been traveling half the day. You must all be tired. Let's rest for a while.
Your Highness, if that is your wish, then please rest beneath that solid tree over there.
I feel as if I'm about to give birth.
Quickly, join in and help. Her Majesty's time has come. Hurry, hurry!
As soon as the Bodhisattva was delivered from his mother's womb, and before he could drop to the ground, 4 great Brahma gods from the 5 pure abodes spread a net of gold to receive his body. On that day, the full moon of the 6th month, the year of the Buddha's birth, equivalent to 623 BC.
I am supreme in the world, foremost in the world, most excellent in the world. This is my last birth. There will be no more birth for me.
I have heard the good news of your son's birth and have come to pay a visit.
Venerable Asita, I thank you very much. And as you have been respected by the Sakyan royal family for a long time now, would you be so kind as to examine my child's physical characteristics? The whole family gathered here would be able to hear.
Your Majesty, please place your child in the cradle first, so that I can see him well. This royal child exhibits all the characteristics of a great being laid down in the ancient texts. I have never seen any being with the signs expressed to such perfection.
Huh? Venerable Asita!
I have examined the characteristics of your newborn son. I predict that when your son has grown up, should he lead the household life, he will become a wheel-turning monarch, a great king of the world. But if he should leave, he will become a fully enlightened Buddha, supreme teacher of gods and humans. Oh, but it's such a pity.
What's such a pity, Venerable Asita?
It's a pity that I am too old to have the chance to live to see this great being grow up.
In the future, my son will be a great being with more power and might than any other in the world. From the 108 Brahmins I invited for the naming ceremony, you 8 have been selected to interpret my baby son's characteristics. You are all proficient. Please give your prediction for my son's future life.
Your Majesty, having examined your son's characteristics, I predict that, should he inherit your throne, he will become a great wheel-turning monarch with an empire that spreads far in every direction. But should he go forth as a monk, he'll become the perfectly enlightened Buddha, the unequaled supreme teacher and guide to the world.
Venerable Kundanya, you are the last of the 8 Brahmins. Do you agree with the other 7 Brahmins that my son has 2 courses, either to become a great wheel-turning monarch or to become a fully enlightened Buddha?
I have considered your son's characteristics in detail, and can see only one path for him. He will certainly not live as a householder, but will go forth as a monk. Then he will become enlightened as the Lord Buddha. This is beyond doubt, Your Majesty.
You predict my son will reject the household life. What would cause him to make such a decision?
Your son will see 4 signs: an old man, a sick man, a dead man, and a monk. These signs will inspire him to give up the royal throne for the sake of the holy life, through which he will become enlightened as the Buddha.
Well, I'd like my son to be a great wheel-turning monarch, ruling the 4 great continents, the greatest prestige for any king. From this point onwards, I will not allow my son to ever see an old, sick, or dead man or a monk.
Having predicted the prince's future life, the 8 Brahmins gave him the auspicious name Siddhartha, meaning he who will succeed in that which he desires. Having returned to their homes, each of the Brahmins instructed their sons that when the time comes for the new prince to leave the household life, they should go forth and follow him. Seven days after Prince Siddhartha's birth, his mother, Queen Siddhi Mahamaya, passed away and became a god in the heaven of Tusida. So King Suddhodana had Queen Siddhi Mahamaya's younger sister, Mahapajapati, raise Prince Siddhartha. Later, the king took Mahapajapati as his new queen. King Suddhodana and Queen Mahapajapati had a son and a daughter together, but the queen still loved and cared for Prince Siddhartha as if he were her own son.
Both of you would like to go and watch the plowing ceremony, wouldn't you? Today my father has had the city decorated in preparation for a great ceremony. It only takes place once a year. Go and watch. I will simply sit here. You needn't worry about me.
With your permission, we'll go and watch for a while. As soon as the ceremony is finished, we'll be right back, Your Highness.
Left alone in a peaceful and shady glade, Prince Siddhartha began to sit in meditation, attaining the tranquility of the first jhana. As the afternoon passed by, the shadows of all the trees moved with the course of the sun, except for the shade of the rose apple tree under which the prince sat. It did not shift position, but remained steadily in place. When the companions returned and saw this wonder, they were startled and conveyed the news to the king, who went to see for himself.
When my son was newly born, Asita the hermit came to look at him, and to my surprise he bowed at my son's feet. On that day, I also bowed to my son for the first time. Now, my son has performed this marvel. Having seen it, I feel I must bow to him for a second time.
When Prince Siddhartha was 7 years old, King Suddhodana had 3 ponds dug in the grounds of the palace, so that the prince could enjoy himself playing with his friend. Upon seeing that the prince had grown sufficiently to begin his education, King Suddhodana sent him to study with the renowned teacher Visavamita. Prince Siddhartha trained in 18 arts and sciences until he was adept. He was his teacher's top student, and before too long, he had learnt all that his master could teach. When Prince Siddhartha reached the age of 16, King Suddhodana had 3 palaces built for his son. One in which to reside during the hot season, one for the rainy season, and one for the cold season. The king, wishing to prevent his son from leaving the household life, consulted with his ministers and obtained the hand of Princess Yasodhara for him in marriage. Time passed by until Prince Siddhartha reached the age of 29 years.
Siddhartha, there is nothing worth seeing outside of the royal palace.
Since I was a child, I've not once set foot outside the great walls of this palace. I'd like to see what's outside.
There's no place out there as beautiful or pleasant as right here inside our royal palace.
That may be true, but I'd still like to go and see for myself. Please give me permission to go outside, Father.
Well, if you really want to, I won't frustrate you, my son. I'll have a royal chariot prepared. Tomorrow morning, you may go outside.
Thank you very much, Father. Oh, so this is what it's like outside the palace. Why did my father say there's nothing worth seeing and wish for me not to go out? Chana, stop the chariot.
What is it, Your Highness?
Look at that man over there. Why is his skin so wrinkled? And why is he having trouble walking?
Oh, that's an old man, Your Highness.
An old man?
Everyone who lives for long enough will come to be like that man, Your Highness.
Everyone must come to a state like that? Chana, stop the chariot.
What is it, Your Highness?
Why is that man sitting and shivering over there?
He is sick, Your Highness.
He is sick?
Sickness is a natural part of life. We must all experience sickness, every one of us. Your Highness! Your Highness! Where are you going? Your Highness! Please come back! Please get back on the chariot, Your Highness.
There's a man wrapped in that cloth, isn't there?
Your Highness, that's a dead man.
And must we all die?
Yes, Your Highness. There isn't anyone that can escape death.
Even me?
Yes, Your Highness. Even you are subject to death.
Channa, stop the chariot.
That is a monk, Your Highness.
Oh, so calm and peaceful, composed and restrained, truly inspiring.
Your Highness, your wife has just given birth to a son.
My dear child, I've just begun seeking for a path beyond suffering, and now you are born, like a snare for my heart. I will give you the name Rahula, which means fetter. Yasodhara, you are as dear to me as my own heart. Rahula, you are everything to me. But not one of us can escape old age, sickness, and death. I must find a way for all of us to go beyond suffering, no matter how much trouble or turmoil there is in the search. Channa. Channa, wake up. Channa, wake up.
What is it?
Channa, go quickly and prepare my horse, Kantaka. Don't let anybody see you. Meet me in front of the palace gate. Hurry.
Yes, Your Highness.
At the moment that Prince Siddhartha was leaving the palace gate, Vasavati Mara, the great deceiver, manifested. He was now worried that he could not use the prince's enjoyment of sensual pleasures to keep him under his control.
Ha 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 ha! Prince! Better go back into the royal palace. In there everything is lovely, pleasant, and comfortable. In just 7 days, you'll become a great wheel-turning monarch. Don't give all of this up. If you leave, you'll get nothing but trouble, torment, suffering, and sorrow.
I don't want to become a great wheel-turning monarch. I don't wish for possessions or comfort and happiness, because such things are not likely to free me from suffering, nor are they likely to help me assist my loved ones and my subjects. Step aside and allow me to pass.
Do you think you can escape from my power? I'll be here waiting for you, you see? For a chance to overwhelm you with greed, hatred, and delusion. I'll follow you like your shadow. Let's see who will win this battle. Ha 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 ha!
We've reached the river Anoma. Stop right here, Channa. If I'm to attain to the supreme enlightened knowledge, may these strands of hair float away into the air. But if I'm not to succeed, may they fall to the ground right here.
When the prince threw his hair up into the air, it floated into the sky and didn't fall down. Indra, the king of the gods, caught it in a crystal casket, which he then enshrined in the Kulamani shrine in the Tavatimsa heaven. The Brahma Gatikara offered the prince the 8 requisites of a samana and received in their place the prince's raiment, which he installed in the Dusa shrine in the Brahma world.
Don't be sad and upset, Channa. I'm doing this in order to seek the way out of suffering for all beings. You must go back and inform my father that I will not return to the royal palace until I have attained direct knowledge of the end of suffering.
The horse Kantaka was so grieved to be parted from Prince Siddhartha that his heart gave out and he died right there. The power of his appreciation and gratitude to his master carried him to Tavatimsa heaven, where he was reborn as a god. Having left Jana behind, the renunciant prince walked on to a mango grove, where he stopped and resided, eating no food for a period of 7 days. On the 8th day, the renunciant prince left the mango grove to go for alms in the city of Rajagaha. All the townspeople could see that this monk was different from other renunciants because of his radiant complexion and an effably calm demeanor.
Oh, he's so handsome.
What's he, a god? Wow, look at that one.
Wow, he's handsome, he's beautiful. That's amazing. Look at that guy right there.
Wow, look at that. Look at him.
Delighted, the people spoke to one another, praising the monk's splendor, saying that it was as if a god had descended from heaven for humans to see. Once the renunciant had received a suitable amount of alms food, he returned to his place of rest. Sitting, the prince contemplated the motley food offerings within his alms bowl. All mixed together, it was an unappetizing sight.
In the past, I would partake of only the most refined and delicious foods. Now leading the holy life for the sake of seeking truth, can there be any point in being fussy over what I eat? This nourishment is merely a necessity for sustaining life.
King Bimbisara of Rajagaha sent his men on the trail of this Samana, whom the townspeople regarded as splendid, like a god. He then went to see the renunciant prince for himself. When King Bimbisara saw the dignified, peaceful demeanor of the young monk, he felt greatly inspired. Then, exchanging conversation with the Samana, the delight in his heart increased all the more. Due to his suspicion that Prince Siddhartha had left the palace due to a dispute with his relatives over the throne, King Bimbisara offered the throne of Rajagaha to the prince. But the prince refused the king's offer, having renounced his own throne, not due to a dispute, but in order to seek the way beyond suffering.
With such firm intention, I'm sure you'll attain the supreme enlightenment. Once you have done so, may I request that you come and teach the Dharma to myself and to the citizens of Rajagaha.
The renunciant prince traveled on to the hermitage of Alara Kalama in order to study and practice under him. In a short time, he had learned all that his master could teach, and so then he traveled on to seek Udaka Ramaputta at his hermitage. Before long, he had come to the end of this teacher's knowledge too. When he asked about attainments beyond that which he had already been taught, Udaka Ramaputta could offer no reply, but instead offered him the leadership of the community. But when the Bodhisattva saw that what he had learned was not the way out of suffering he was seeking, he took his leave and moved on in order to continue his search for higher truth. The Bodhisattva came to Uruvela at Seinanigama and considered the fresh coolness of its shady forest, with orderly rows of trees and a river running through, located nearby to the village. It seemed a suitable place for him to continue striving for liberation, so he ceased his traveling and settled in that spot. The Brahmin Gondanya was very pleased to hear the news that Prince Siddhartha had gone forth, and hurried to seek out the sons of each of the 7 other Brahmins with whom he had divined the identity of the Bodhisattva according to his physical characteristics when he was just born. He managed to gather and persuade only 4 of these sons, and then together the 5 Brahmins left the household life and set off in search of the great renunciant. The 5 Brahmins now gone forth were Gondanya, Vapa, Badia, Mahanama, and Asaji. This group of 5 together were known as the Pankavaggiya. The Pankavaggiya followed after the Bodhisattva through various places until they found him practicing ardently in the place where he had settled. They settled there with him, attending to his needs, with the hope that when he attained enlightenment, he would teach the Dhamma to them.